What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Too Pop to Handle. I'm your host, Andrew Nucatola, your pop culture best friend. And as always, I hope you guys are having a fabulous week. Now, as much as I would love to come on here and just start yapping about pop culture, I cannot do that this week, unfortunately, because it would just be out of character for me if I didn't address the elephant in our room that is what's happening in our country. So if you would just give me a minute of your time to bitch about what is happening in Minnesota, I mean all over the country, but specifically in Minnesota, what is going on in the last week or so with Alex Preddy and Renee Good and all of the other people who are getting ripped away from their families and are just completely being like just treated as if they are like less than animals. Like they're being treated like dirt and scum, and it is so insane. And watching all of this happen and coming on here and talking about, we're going to talk about Charli xcx and we're going to talk about, RuPaul's Drag Race and all these, pop culture nonsense. And as much as I, love giving you guys pop culture news, it is nonsense in the grand scheme of the world, like it is when you compare what's happening with ICE in our country right now and the things that we're going to talk about today, it is apples and oranges. And if I came on here and just started things as usual and didn't use my platform, even though it isn't the biggest platform, if I can send this message to anybody out there, I can confidently say most of my listeners are on board with all of this and, are against it. But, if anybody is out there and is feeling, not sure how to feel about this, just please open your eyes and realize what is happening. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are mad at everyone who voted for Trump. And I've gone through that stage of grief where I'm like pissed off at the people who voted for this man and voted for everything that happened. But I am now at a point where like seeing people who regret their vote, as much as it hurts me, and I wish we could have like shaken them and woken them up back in November and been like, please do not vote for this. Like it is written in the stars what he's going to do. And like, he's good at what he does, unfortunately. Like there's a reason he had all these businesses and like he's able to sway all these people. He knows how to get into people's head and convince them that things are going to be great and this and that, whatever. And I did have a grudge against people who were voting, and now the people who are like turning and like, I wish I didn't vote and regretting it. I do have a newfound appreciation for them because I'm like, you're a little too late, but you know what? Come on in. Now is the time to turn these people's minds around, turn them blue, have them calling their senators, have them, using their voice and voting in their local elections, because if it all starts in your local, in your local elections and everything going on in your hometown, and then it grows from there. So if, you have people in your life who maybe voted for Trump or, are registered Republican and now are having a change of heart, be easy on them. I think if they're able to realize their wrongdoings in that sense, that is a sign that like, oh, wow, like they're being shaken and like they're probably going through a lot in their mind of like, oh, fuck, like, I mean, it is their fault partially, but there's got to be a little bit of we have to have a little empathy for these people who are coming to terms with their wrongdoings. It sucks. And I wish, again, we could have shook some sense into them back in November, but it's a really scary time right now. So I'm sending a lot of love to anybody who is feeling scared or is in Minnesota or is in a town or state or wherever that is like seeing a lot of ICE raids. One of my coworkers told me that like she saw an ICE raid on her subway home the other day in Brooklyn. And it's just like so close to home. I know they're in my borough right now, and it's very scary. So I'm sending a lot of love to everybody. And I'm going to have some resources linked down in the description where you can help support Minnesota, and also just like some info on how you can contact your senators and like what you can do to kind of help not continue to fund ICE. So I will have that all linked down below. I just couldn't come on here and act as if like things are fully normal in this country when they are just not. And yeah, I just wanted to start the show like that. I promise we are going to, I always say I want the show to be an escape for you guys and to be like your hour and change of not hearing about what's going on in the world. But like, that's a very tunnel vision way to approach any type of media these days when things are just so incredibly bad and scary, and like our country is the laughingstock of the entire world. So I try my best to not bring politics into the show, but I just can't help myself. It's who I am. It would be out of character for me to not bring politics into the show, because I am very involved and I've been very vocal about these things for years. This is not a new thing. As soon as I was able to vote, I was registering. I was in all my local elections. I've been very vocal always. If you follow me anywhere, if you know me in real life, this is nothing new, but I cannot come on here and start this show and be like, So Charli xcx was at Sundance and like act as if the world isn't fucking burning. So like I said, I will have all of the resources down below for you guys. If you are looking for ways to help or support or donate and things like that, I will have it all linked down below. Please, even if it's just calling your senator, it takes 3 minutes, not even, it takes less time than that. It is such a quick thing to do to just help and use your voice and just try, it's the least that we can do. But yeah, now that we have that out of the way, hello, welcome to the show. Such an abrupt way to pivot. On some positive news, the sun is now setting after 5 p.m., We have to hold on to the little things in today's day and age because there's not so many great things happening in the world right now. So when we could find a little glimmer of hope, and if it is just the fact that the days are getting a little bit longer and now we are progressing towards longer days and the sun setting a little bit later every single day, I will take it. We have to hold on to what we can. If you guys listened to last week's episode, I was telling you guys at the end that I wasn't going to record in time to tell you guys about what I did last night, which is go to see Hilary Duff at the Brooklyn Paramount. But I ended up sitting in a pharmacy waiting area for almost 2.5 hours on Monday night when I was planning to record within those 2 hours. And I just didn't have it in me after I had an allergic reaction I've been dealing with. It's a whole here, there, whatever. But that being said, I have now seen Hilary Duff at the Brooklyn Paramount during the small rooms, big nerve tours. I always mix it up. I'm like big rooms, small nerves, but no, small rooms, big nerves tour. And I'm honestly so excited that I pushed the recording until today, because if I had to wait a week to tell you guys how much fun I had at the Hilary Duff concert last night, I would be bursting at the seams. Like, I could not shut up about how much fun I had at this show last night, let alone just like being with some of my best friends. Like, I had one of my best friends, Casey, flew in from Nashville. I had my Jocelyn, who I always talk about, my friend Steph. Like, we all just were together, and like it was all like different era of friends that I have. I feel like they were all with me, and like it was just such like a special little group that we had going. Let alone like the friends I was with and just like the everything in the room. Hilary Duff has never looked better or seemed happier or just been more excited to be on stage. Like, it was so clear how proud she was of the work she's putting out, of the show she's putting on, of the way that like people are showing up for her. And she even said it on stage last night, like doing this tour, releasing this album is so healing. We know, of course, she released Breathe In, Breathe Out. What was that? Yeah, it was now 11 years ago. And it didn't do as well as one may hope, and she didn't tour it or whatever. So for her to be touring this album before it's even released and like doing all these shows and they're selling out and the demand is so crazy. And like, I bet you guys know, I talk about the Brooklyn Paramount nonstop and how much I love that venue. It is literally my favorite venue ever. I have never in my life seen this show as packed as it was last night. I've seen Charli xcx there. I've seen Addison Rae there. I saw Halsey there. Like, I've seen so many people at this venue, and I have never seen it so sold out to the point where like they had the barricade set up differently by the stage because they needed to fit more people in this place. Like, it was packed in this room. Everybody was so happy. Everybody was so excited. Like, it was the joy in that room was infectious. And I just feel so thankful to be alive at the same time at the Hilary Duff Renaissance, because it is what the world needs. In a world in which things are pretty dark, outside of pop music, I am so happy that we have Hilary Duff to be a light and a beacon of hope for whatever is happening in our country. And I had the time of my life. The new music is so much fun. She did like 3 or 4 unreleased songs. The one that really stood out to me was Weather for Tennis. I fucking love that song, and I cannot wait to have that on repeat when the album comes out. I did post a video of it on my personal TikTok, so if you want to get a sneak peek of what the song sounds like, head over to my TikTok and you can watch that there. But all of the new music is just fun. It just is like feel good, fun pop music. There is a song about Haley, like very explicitly about Haley Duff. It is called We Don't Talk, and it is she's, given us a little insight of what's happening with her and Haley Duff, which, we hate to see sisters fighting, but it happens, and that's life. We will talk more about Haley Duff later on in the show in a certain segment that, if you're a fan of the show, where this is going to land later at the end of the episode. We have some things to talk about Miss Haley Duff, but we're focusing on positive right now. The show was great. It was really impressive the way that Hilary is able to, seamlessly integrate her old music with her new stuff. It really doesn't feel like, I was saying to Casey and Jocelyn, I was like, if Miley Cyrus went on stage and performed a Dead Pet song and then went to a Hannah Montana song, it would be jarring. And like, that's the only comparison I could think about of like Lizzie McGuire era Hilary, you know, Metamorphosis, all that. And Dignity was obviously past Lizzie McGuire, but the Metamorphosis era, Lizzie McGuire era, she even sings What Dreams Are Made Of from the Lizzie McGuire movie. Like, if for Hilary to be able to sing these songs that came out in 2003 and sing songs that are coming out in 2026, and it seems so seamless, it was just really impressive the way her and her team are doing it. And I've talked about how incredible I think her team is doing at marketing this entire era for weeks and weeks and months and months. I cannot say enough about how much I just think it's a perfect rollout that they're doing. The show was great. The music is great. Hilary looked and sounded incredible. I had truly the time of my life, and I'm just so excited to see what the year holds for Hilary Duff. So when that album comes out, I will definitely be chatting with you guys about it. That being said, so much fun at Hilary Duff last night. It was so nice to, and I hate to like harp on it, but like after the weekend and everything that like with everything happening in Minnesota and all the sad news happening in the world, like to have a night like that, I needed it so bad. And it was nice to have fun and let go and dance and just have the time of my life. It was so much fun. And I can't wait to see what Hilary Duff has in store for us for the rest of the year. That being said, I have yapped for quite some time in this intro. Usually, you know, I'd like to keep it a little more snappy, but I had a lot to say this week. You know, there's a lot going on, but there's a lot to get into in my outline. So let's get into it and kick the show off as we always do with our Drew releases, our new music releases from last week, and our new music releases coming up this week. There was one release that I had on my radar last week and one release only, and it was a major one. Harry Styles' lead single from his upcoming album, Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, Aperture, came out, and I have to say, I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think it's a really fun way to usher us into this new era and like let us know that like, hey, this is a new sound for me, but like I feel like this is almost like an appetizer to it. I do really think we're gonna get more upbeat, almost like disco type songs on the album, and I feel like there's a kind of like a bridge into it, and I'm just so excited for whatever the rest of the album holds. I think the production on the song is incredible. I think it's really fun the way it doesn't follow a traditional song pattern. You know, it's not verse, bridge, chorus. Like it is very much like a unique style of song composition, and I love the way it takes us on a journey. You know, it slows down, it speeds up, there's some like fun like backing vocals on it. The video is so just like weird and kooky and out there, and I love it. It's just so fun. He's like running around this hotel and stumbling down these stairs and chasing this man, and do I know what he's doing? No, I don't understand it, but I love it. I am so happy that Harry Styles is back, and I cannot wait for the rest of this album. We do not have very long to wait. We have just like over a month and change, I would say, before this comes out, so I am so stoked. However, I will say I am not stoked about these Together tour ticket prices because they are fucking astronomical. I got in the queue and I was 131,000. So I literally closed out. I was like, I'm not even going to bother. Like, why put myself through the stress of this when I know I'm not going to get in and see anything? My boyfriend, however, got in and he had like 3,000 people, I think, in front of him. So he gets in, whatever, cool. $800 face value for the 100 level section of Madison Square Garden. What? Hello? Like, what are you doing? Like, that is insane. And like, mind you, this isn't a stadium. This is an arena. This isn't like, yeah, you're Harry Styles, but like, let's bring us down to earth a little bit. You know, like I know you were chasing a satellite on your last album, but like, baby, the satellite's come down by this point. It's been 4 years. Like we have to be serious and come back down to earth, because with these prices, like you will not be seeing me at this show, because $800 for the 100 level section, and even like the nosebleeds, people were paying like $250 for it. That is astronomical. Like that is unbelievable. And I'm seeing people pay these prices. And my coworker told me that she saw a girl on Twitter who was just like charging $1,800, $1,500, $900 on her credit card to go to all these shows. And I'm just like, what are we doing? Why are we spending this much money to go see a man perform? Like, it's crazy. I cannot believe the prices that they put on there and like confidently put them out. And they were like, yeah, this is it. Like, let's set the prices at this. Fucking bonkers. But I will cross that bridge when I get there. There are 30 shows to go to. I will get into at least one of them. You know, whatever I have to do, I will get into one. I am not paying $800. You can kiss my ass before I pay that amount of money to see Harry Styles. But that being said, the song is lovely and I cannot wait for the album. I don't have any new releases on my radar coming up this week. However, I do have a few artists that I've been listening to lately that I wanted to share with you guys because they're kind of new, up and coming, and I wanted to just share the love. And so, though this isn't the typical Drew Releases segment, I figured I would just, give you some new music. There's a new artist. She's actually the lead singer of Mr. Wives, which I was never a fan of. Not that I didn't like them, but I just never listened to them. But she's now going by Cherry Bomb, and she released her debut single, Never Be Me, Motherfucker, and I am obsessed with the song. I posted it on my Instagram story the other day, and I truly cannot stop listening to it. It is so much fun. The best way I can describe it is like if Electra Heart era Marina and the Diamonds had a baby with Chappell Roan. It's very much that vibe. So if you're into Marina, like old school Marina, 2012 Marina and Chappell, and like imagine they had a baby and put it together, I think that's the best way that I can describe this song. It is incredible. I love the music video. The visuals are great. I love her whole aesthetic. I'm really into this, and I'm excited to see like what she has for the rest of the year. Because like I said, this is her debut single as a solo artist. So we will see what she has in store. But this new single is great. It came out like a week or two ago, and it came across my desk on Instagram. I saw one of my friends posted to their story, and I was like, wait, let me tap in and check this out. It is great. I am loving it. Another person who came across my desk on TikTok is a rapper named Sunshine. I'm sure you've seen her. She is like blowing up on TikTok right now. Her song Trump the Bill is going crazy viral, and she just did like a huge press junket in New York. She is so good. I am loving the song, and I've listened to a few of her other tracks, and I really like what she's doing. Her flow is just very reminiscent of a redacted female rapper who we no longer speak about on this podcast, but it also gives like a little bit of like Lil' Kim, Missy Elliott. Like she just has a really good flow, and her beat for Trump the Bill specifically was incredible. It's so catchy. I'm definitely going to be watching her very closely for the rest of the year because I feel like she's having a big moment online, and I really want her to continue chasing this high and like just continue to grow because she deserves it. In all of her videos, she does like vlogs with her mom. They're in like Santa Monica doing these cute little vlogs. Like she just is doing social media very well and is like showing her life and her work and everything. And she's getting a lot of love from like the rap community, which I think is such a huge thing that like when you're welcomed into such a close-knit community. So it's really cool to see the way people are welcoming her in. And I'm very excited to see what she has in store for the rest of the year. And then finally, this is another artist that I found on TikTok. Her name is Von D. She has an EP out called Make Me Move. It is very Charli xcx, Brat, Slater, very dance, very electronic. And you guys know I love anything that sounds like it's like a fucking computer pressing buttons. I love that shit. This EP is incredible. If you love like a dancey electronic kind of track, check out Von D. Like I said, the EP is called Make Me Move. She also has a new single out. I think it's something like Put Your this is going to sound crazy if I don't get it right, but it's like Put Your CD in my USB or so. Hang on, wait. No, yeah, that's right. Put Your USB in my CDJ. Loving the single, loving the EP, all of these artists I am obsessed with. And I'm actually, if you guys remember last year, I did that Substack post where I was doing like X amount of artists to add to your playlist. I'm working on that right now. I like to have that come out in like February. So that's coming out very soon, and I will have them all on there as well as some other artists that I've been loving. But thought it'd be fun to share a few new artists with you guys to add to your roster if you need some people on your playlist. But with all of that being said, let's wrap up our Drew Releases segment and kick off our moment from the week that were just too pop to handle. Now, this first story we're going to chat about is a person that I really tried to avoid news about this person, but this is something that I thought was so interesting and a very strategic marketing tactic. So I wanted to chat with you guys about it. Kanye West apologizes for anti-Semitic comments via paid ad in the Wall Street Journal. I have so many thoughts on this, so let's just dive into it. So he takes out an entire page in the Wall Street Journal and writes this paid ad that he wrote about. First of all, the voice of this ad is clearly not written by Kanye West. Like, this is not the man who is going on these Twitter rampages. Like, this is not, when I read you guys part of it, I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's a lot, but this is not the person who is going on these crazy rants on Twitter. This is clearly a ghostwriter. So he says, having bipolar disorder is not a state of constant mental illness. When you go into a manic episode, you are ill at that point. When you are not in an episode, you're completely normal. And that's when the wreckage from the illness hits the hardest. Hitting rock bottom a few months ago, my wife encouraged me to finally get help. Now, I want to say right off the bat, Obviously, bipolar disorder, any type of mental health, things like that, it's not something to joke about. I'm not looking at this to like rag on Kanye West, and it's not something to discredit. Like, I have empathy for him, especially for like things he's gone through with his mom. When his mom passed away, he holds a little guilt for what happened to his mom, because he was like, should I have been there? And he has a lot of guilt as to blaming himself for his mom passing away. I don't know if he's worked through it or whatever. Again, I don't really subscribe to Kanye anymore. So I understand like the guilt that he has there. And again, the bipolar and everything that he goes through, like I do have empathy for him there. But like at some point, there's got to be some action behind his words and not just an apology every few years on like treating the things that he does like a slap on the wrist, because he does and said some pretty offensive shit. And like for him to just like issue apologies and say, I'm sorry every few years and like try to continue on as if things are normal, it's just like, come on, dude, you're a grown man. I understand you're going through mental health, but you also have I assume you have a lot of money. I don't know about your personal finances, but I would imagine, hopefully you're smart with your money and you have the money to get the help that you need. And I think that's what upsets me the most is like, he has the resources to get the help that he needs, but like nobody is pushing him to get the help, or if they are, he's not taking it seriously. And it's upsetting to see. But again, like there's got to be some action behind his words. Instead of these apologize, like every few years, it's like, oh, a slap on the wrist, I'm sorry. And then like he does it again a few years later. It's really crazy. He wrote, in that fractured state, I gravitated towards the most destructive symbol I could find, the swastika, and even sold t-shirts bearing it. One of the most difficult spaces of bipolar type 1 are disconnected moments, many of which I still cannot recall, that lead to poor judgment and reckless behavior that oftentimes feels like an out-of-body experience. I regret and am deeply mortified by my actions in that state, and I'm committed to accountability, treatment, and meaningful change. It does not excuse what I did, though. I am not a Nazi or an anti-Semite. I love Jewish people. Now, I can't speak on behalf of Jewish people and how they take this, because I am not Jewish, and I can't obviously be like, okay, well, yeah, we forgive you, whatever, because I don't think putting a swastika on a t-shirt and selling it and tweeting the words, I am a Nazi, is excusable. Like, maybe it's just me, but like I just feel like that's not something you like come back from and can just like write a paid ad in the Wall Street Journal and like apologize for it. It just feels a little crazy, especially considering like less than a year ago, he tweeted the words, like I said, I'm a Nazi and I'm never apologizing for my Jewish comment. He also sold shirts that said Hail Hitler and like crazy shit like that. And again, he's saying, when I'm in these moments, I can't recall and they lead to poor judgment and reckless behavior, that it feels like an out-of-body experience. I get that. I sympathize with that. I understand that. But how many times can this happen? And like, how are there not people in his circle that are not looking out for him more to avoid these things? It's just like, it's such a serious thing to do and to say, and it just continues. He says, to the Black community, which held me down through all of my highs and lows and the darkest of times, the Black community is unquestionably the foundation of who I am. I'm so sorry to have let you down. I love us. And like, that's great. I understand he had said some very crazy things about slavery and saying like slavery was a choice and all these things. And it's just like, again, I am not Jewish, nor am I a Black person, so I cannot speak on their behalf and accept his apology or say if this is something that he can backpedal from. But as an outsider, I'm looking at this and I'm like, what the fuck do you mean you're apologizing for these things? It's just very crazy. I don't understand how this is how he's approaching it. He goes on to say, I have found comfort in Reddit forums of all places, and that's where he is getting his help, so it seems. So that right there tells me like he is not taking any help he is getting seriously. And because if you're going to Reddit for mental health advice, I hate to break it to you, but Reddit is basically a psych ward. Everybody on Reddit who is actively posting on Reddit, some of them are fine. Some of the Reddits are fine, but majority of Reddit and subreddits are fucking terrifying and scary. And if you're looking for comfort and finding comfort on Reddit in a sense that is like about mental health and things like that, like that's a little crazy. And like there are communities on Reddit that I feel like are great. You can find a lot of people, maybe you're going through grief or you're going through, I don't know, if you're going through certain things, you can find communities there. But the things that Kanye West have said and done and is dealing with, I don't think Reddit is what Kanye West needs. I think he needs a therapist, a psychiatrist, a lot of other things other than using Reddit as his source of comfort and finding, his like voice of reason there. And then he ends it with saying, I'm not asking for sympathy. good, because you're not getting it, or a free pass, also not getting that, though I aspire to earn your forgiveness. I write today simply to ask for your patience and understanding as I find my way home. And like I said, how many times is he going to issue an apology like this for things that are like really harmful and really disgusting things to say, especially in today's day and age with like what's going on in our country and what's going on with our president and our administration and like the blatant racism that's being outpoured day to day, minute by minute. You don't get to just like backpedal on those things, you know? And like, it just feels very performative considering his album comes out on Friday. And it just, with or without the album, this statement would be a little baloney to me. No, I wouldn't really buy into it because Kanye has, this is years and years and years of Kanye acting like this. But like the fact that his album comes out on Friday and now he's buying a full page ad in the Wall Street Journal to apologize for all these things just seems a little convenient to me. And I don't know. Like I said, I am not the people that he is offending in this. I'm sure he's had plenty of shit about gay people and like that can offend me on another part, but like he's not apologizing to us in this. So I guess I'm excluded from this narrative. But like, I can't accept this apology or say what he's done is excusable, things like that, because again, it is not a group that I'm a part of. However, as an outsider, like I said, these are things that are inexcusable to me. Like if I knew somebody personally who was saying shit like this, I would be like, no, absolutely not. There's no apology you can give me. Like go find somebody else. And the scale in which he did and the influence that he has, people love Kanye. Kanye has hitters and like the influence that he has on people, especially young males. Like I feel like they really admire him and idolize him, especially if you think back like 2016 era. I feel like that was like the really big Kanye. I mean, he's always been huge. And don't get me wrong, like early day Kanye, his music is incredible. Like, or I would say like pre-2009, those albums are great. He's very talented. And like, it's sad to see kind of the downfall of him over the years. But like, after how many times, you know, like the first time, second time, all right, he's going through it, you know, whatever, like I said, his mom and things like that. But it's been so many decades at this point of just this outlandish behavior. It's like, at what point are people just like, we don't accept your apology, fuck off and like get out of the public light? I don't know. To me, I see this and I'm like, it is very convenient that your album comes out on Friday and you're buying this whole page ad the week before. I don't know, Mr. West, I'm not buying it. And moving on to the next moment of the week that was just too pop to handle. Now, this was actually happening as I was recording last week, and I saw it start with Kim Petras posting about her record label, but I was like, I need this to marinate a little bit. You guys know I like things to like come to full fruition before I fully like chat about it, because I don't like to leave things unfinished. So Kim Petras started tweeting just about like how her label is refusing to let her release her music and isn't giving her any budget and things like that. She started tweeting Tuesday afternoon saying, my album has been done for 6 months and my record label has refused to give me a release date or pay my collaborators for the work that they've done. She then goes on to say, oh yeah, I've also filmed a self-funded music video over 2 months ago for my next single that they also wouldn't give me a release date for. I'm tired of having no control over my own life or career. I want to continue to self-fund and self-curate my own music. This is why I have formally requested to be dropped by @Republic Records. Then she tweets, I won a Grammy 2 years ago. The music is tea, still no support. If it's not a TikTok trend or 80s revival queer baiting shit, these labels have no interest in supporting. My fans have waited long enough. I love you guys. So that's part one of it. You know, this is now, we talked about BB Rexa a few weeks ago. Halsey's going through this as well with these record labels who are truly like trapping these artists in these contracts and these record deals. And it sounds great. It's shiny. You know, you're going to make it in the music industry. And now we're seeing more and more artists go independent because these labels are truly like holding them and their music hostage. And I mean, of course, one of the biggest examples of this always comes up is Taylor Swift and her masters and what happened with her. And I think I always say that really did start the conversation for new artists going into these record labels and getting these record deals and making sure they're getting what they want. Look at Megan Thee Stallion. She owns her entire masters because she has seen this happen and she's smart and she knows. And it sucks that these labels take advantage of these people and own their music and control them and tell them how much they're going to put into their budget and how much they're going to let them release. I mean, Halsey literally is not allowed to release music right now because her last album didn't perform well and like didn't get radio play and didn't sell the way that her past albums did. Like that is crazy. And like, to be doing this to an artist that you signed, like when you sign to a record, not that I've ever signed to a record label, but I imagine when you sign to a record label, like you're putting your trust in these people. There's a reason you're signing with them. You're excited. You've seen their work. You see what they can do. And they're helping you the way you're helping them. You know, it's a mutual thing. So for the label to not hold up their end of the deal is just so grimy and sleazy, and like what is wrong with the music industry. And speaking of things that are wrong with the music industry, we all know what happened with Kesha and Dr. Luke and that whole debacle. And there was a big conversation online because Kim was working with him while he was actively going through all of this drama with Kesha. And, you know, it was just, that was such like a crazy thing to live through and experience, and watch Kesha fully like not have any rights to any of her music, and all of these insane sexual allegations come out, and, you know, all these court cases and things like that. Like, it was a really crazy time for Kesha's career for pop music. And I think that also opened a lot of people's eyes to what can happen in the music industry. So when Kim Petras is working with him actively, it's like, you can't, like, it was crazy, especially because like Kim Petras and Kesha, like, they're kind of, you know, they attract the same crowd. They, you know, a gay man loves to see a Kim Petras or Kesha song on a queue is what I'll say. So like a lot of the fans overlap. I'm one of them. I love Kesha. I love Kim. And like, it was really sad to watch Kim Petras work with Dr. Luke time and time again. And there was a time where I removed myself from listening to Kim because I was like, how can you watch Kesha go through this and continue to work with him? And she put out a statement at the time and she said, while I've been open about my positive experience with Dr. Luke, that does not negate or dismiss the experience of others or suggest that multiple perspectives cannot exist at once, which is just like a Band-Aid bullshit statement to put out and be like, I understand he's a bad guy, but I'm still going to work with him. And like that dug things a little bit deeper. So the whole Kim and Kesha of it all was a very dividing time for pop music. And of course, everything with Katy Perry and Dr. Luke recently, and there's the Kesha and Katy drama there. So you can imagine my surprise when I opened Twitter last week and I see Kesha replying to Kim Petras talking about all of these things. And Kesha replies to her and says, I spent many years fighting for the rights of myself. Watching another woman realize that the golden cage is still a cage isn't a victory, it's a tragedy we have to stop repeating. Freedom isn't a privilege, it's a birthright. I hear you, I'm sorry, Kim. And then Kim responded with like a heart emoji back to her. And seeing Kesha come out and use her voice and show support to Kim, especially considering what went down with them. I don't think there was any actual word said between them. I think it was just like a moral thing of like, why is Kim working with Dr. Luke when this is happening with Kesha? And again, a lot of the fans, you know, it's what's the saying? It's not a Venn diagram, it's a circle. Like Kim Petras and Kesha fans are very much the same. You know, we're all gay. We all like pop music, and it's just a very similar vibe. If you're picking up on and putting down. So, you know, to see Kesha come out and be so supportive of her in this time, it must mean a lot to Kim, you know, to know that like, hey, like, I understand what you're going through, and like, Kesha has gone through this in such a public light. So I think having her to kind of lean on is a very good thing for her. Now, I do want to say Kim has not worked with Dr. Luke since like 2019, 2020 era. So everything in the last 6 years he has not touched, which is great. And we love that, you know, she did stop. And to my knowledge, it was her doing to stop working with him. And of course, doesn't erase the fact that like she said those things and was like still standing by him after all of that. But people grow. And like I said earlier, of course, we're not comparing Trump voters to Dr. Luke, but you know, people who do bad things. But you know, there's forgiveness and things like that. And, you know, if you truly come to terms on it and you can forgive people and things like that, you know, we can understand. But just seeing Kesha like speak up like that to her and, you know, be so open about what she went through. And I love what she said, watching another woman realize that the golden cage is still a cage. It was just like, that's such a strong statement, you know, like that's such like a, it's true because they give you this shiny gold cage. They put you in and the cage is your record label, but you're still caged. You're still stuck. You're still in there and can't get out. You know, it's a sad realization. But I thought that was a really sweet moment between Kesha and Kim. And like, I hope to in the future we see a Kesha and Kim collab, and maybe Kim goes independent and they can like, maybe Kim signs to Kesha's record label. I don't know. Like, it's just there. It's nice to see when the girls who previously had not been on the best of terms come to terms and realize like, hey, we're not that different at all. Like, let's support each other and not tear each other down, which is kind of like what I was talking about a lot last summer, 2024 summer, when I was saying like seeing Charli, Sabrina, Chapel, Doechii, all of them exist at the same time and doing their own thing, but existing in the same space and no one's tearing each other down. It was a really refreshing thing considering like the way the 2010s were when we saw all these pop girls kind of tear each other down, like go against each other. But like we're really watching an era of pop girls that are supporting each other and being there for each other. And it's just like, it's nice to see when they're supportive. So when I saw Kesha tweet her, I was like, oh my God, whoa, this is a big deal, at least to me and to gay people everywhere. So if anybody's listening to this and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Just know it's a big deal for gay people. And that's all that matters on this podcast. Another big deal for gay people, our next moment of the week that was too pop to handle. Oscar nominations are here. So you guys know we are in the thick of award season and the Oscars are coming up on March 15th. And we got the Oscar nominations last week. So we're going to run through them quick. First and foremost, I just need to say Sinners breaking the record for the most Oscar nominations for a movie is exactly what I want to hear. This is the correct timeline that I want to live in. I have come on this show so many times and said Sinners is incredible. If you have not seen it, go see it. They have 16 Oscar nominations, which is exactly the way that it should be. This makes my heart so happy. Previously, the record was held with 14 nominations shared by Titanic, La La Land, and All About Eve. And I mean, these are all movies that were huge, but like Titanic, like that is one of, if not the biggest movie of all time. So to see Sinners beating that at the Oscars, it's just so exciting and so rewarding. And like I said, in a world in which there is so much racism, seeing a movie that is all mostly black led, like 95% black led cast. Like it is so exciting and I'm so happy to celebrate this cast, whether they win or not. Just seeing that they're getting this recognition makes me so happy. Following Sinners is One Battle After Another with 13 nominations, which is also very exciting. This movie is getting crazy raves and it's been winning everything. So very, very tight race for the Oscars coming up. So we have to wait and see on March 15th who takes home what, but we're just going to run through the big categories really quick. I'm not going to give too many opinions because obviously we'll have to wait for the show to chat about opinions, but just to keep you guys in the loop on what's nominated. For Best Picture, we have Begonia, F1, Frankenstein, Hamnet, Marty Supreme, One Battle After Another, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, Sinners, and Train Dreams. For Best Performance by an Actor in a Leading Role, we have Timothée Chalamet, Marty Supreme, Leonardo DiCaprio, One Battle After Another, Ethan Hawke, Blue Moon, Michael B. Jordan, Sinners, and Wagner Moura, The Secret Agent. For Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role, we have Benicio del Toro, One Battle After Another, Jacob Elordi, Frankenstein, Delroy Lindo, Sinners, Sean Penn, One Battle After Another, and Stellan Skarsgård for Sentimental Value. For Best Performance by an Actress in a Leading Role, we have Jessie Buckley in Hamnet, Rose Byrne and If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You, Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue, Renee Renz. I'm totally butchering this. I'm so sorry. Renee Rensby, Sentimental Value. I'm so sorry. I completely just butchered that. Emma Stone, Begonia. And then Best Performance by an Actress in a Supporting Role, Elle Fanning, Sentimental Value, Inga Ib's daughter, Lilius, again, I'm so sorry, Sentimental Value, Amy Madigan, Weapons, Wunmi Mosaku, Sinners, and Teyana Taylor, One Battle After Another. And then for Best Original Song, the last category we'll cover is Dear Me from Diane Warren, Relentless, with music and lyric by Diane Warren, performed by Kesha. I feel like that's exciting and, important to note. No shock here, but Golden from K-Pop Demon Hunters, I Lied to You from Sinners, Sweet Dreams of Joy from Viva Verdi, and Train Dreams from Train Dreams. So those are all of like the big categories. Of course, there's so many other ones, but I just wanted to run through and keep you guys up to date on what's going on there. Now, the obvious of the Oscar nominations is the fact that nowhere on this list is Wicked nominated. Not Best Actress, not Best Supporting Actress, not Best Original Song, not Best Costume, not Set Design, not Production, not Direction, nada. Zero, zip, zilch, nothing. Which I think is crazy. And yes, I love Wicked. I am biased, but I truly think the acting in Wicked for Good was much better than in the first Wicked movie. And for them to not even get nominated feels insane to me. There's some murmurs going around of people saying, the Academy were a little thrown off by Ariana and Cynthia's press tours and the way that they acted, and it turned them off and thought it, didn't warrant a nomination. You can say whatever you want. I think it is absolute bullshit, honestly, that Wicked didn't get any nominations, especially they wrote 2 new songs and to add 2 new songs to Wicked was a bold move. This is a beloved musical that has been on Broadway for years, for decades. And for them to take that creative leap and add 2 new songs into Wicked, for them to not even get nominated feels crazy to me. Not even one. Not both needed a nomination, just one of them. Whether it was Girl in the Bubble, whether it was No Place Like Home, like one of them deserved to be nominated, and I will stand by that. I feel like this is fucking crazy, but I mean, it's very Wicked coded. Like Wicked not getting any Oscar nominations is very reminiscent of like the Tonys when the show premiered and it lost to Avenue Q. Like Wicked famously hasn't been awarded very highly. You know, of course, we got the Oscar last year for Best Costume Design, which Paul Tazwell absolutely deserved. And like, actually, while we're on that topic, did we not see what he did with the Tin Man for Ethan Slater? Like, that was an insane costume. That alone deserved the Oscar nomination for Best Costume Design. Whether or not Paul Tazwell won it 2 years in a row, that doesn't matter. But the nomination, like, he deserved Best Costume Design just for Ethan Slater's Tin Man of it all alone, let alone everything else he did for the movie. Like, all the dresses for Glinda and Elphaba sex cardigan. Can we get no love for the cardigan? You know, we're really gonna leave Paul in the dust on that one. This feels bogus to me, and I am not happy that Wicked got no nominations, but you know, I'm not the Academy. I would just have to sit and be bitter and be upset. Like I said, the Oscars are happening on March 15th. Of course, we will talk all about it once that happened. Very exciting on the topic of award season though. Grammys is this Sunday, my favorite of the award season. So I am very excited to recap Grammys with you. We will chat all about that next week, and I cannot wait to cover the Grammys with you guys again. And then the final moment of the week that we're just too popped to handle before we get into our main topic of the show is this Jacob Elordi and Margot Robbie press tour for Wuthering Heights. Now, let me just say, I've been very excited for this movie, and I'm thrilled that Charli's doing the music. I cannot wait to see the two of them acting. I mean, Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi, two huge names. They are great actors. Like, I am so excited for this movie. However, this press tour is fucking crazy. If you have not seen any of this, buckle up, because they are committed to the bit. And like, on one hand, I admire it and think it's very admirable the way that they are approaching it and being so committed to it. But like, on the other, I'm like, what the fuck are we saying? Like, a married woman saying these things about somebody else is crazy. So he said, Margot says, I'm so codependent with people I work with, and I love everyone so much. I'm always that person who's devastated when a job's over and never wants it to end. I think I developed that quite quickly with Jacob too. Fine, that's cool. We've seen Margot Robbie act this way in many of press tours. I mean, think about Barbie, the way that she was with Ryan Gosling, and like, they were very close, they had great chemistry, and like, that's not a bad thing. This is fine. I'm okay with this. But then she goes on and says that Jacob Elordi made my day as Heathcliff. He filled my room with roses and it was so cute. I remember thinking, oh, he's probably a very good boyfriend. It wasn't just the gesture of the roses. It was the thing written from Heathcliff and that little tombstone thing. Then she goes on to share that in the first few days of filming, she would find Jacob watching her around set, and it was creepy at first, and then he stopped doing it. And she says, I found myself starting to look around to see where he was. I was really unnerved and unmoored. I felt quite lost, like a kid without their blanket or something, which is just like, you felt uneasy because he wasn't watching you. Like, what are we talking about watching you? Like, was he watching from afar? Was he sitting too close? Like, you felt uneasy because he wasn't watching you after a few days. Like, it just feels very, like she said, codependent, but to a level that I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? And then it just continues to get crazier. She's talking about one of the scenes that they film, and she says, I almost had my legs trembling. They were the little things that we loved as women in our 30s, and this movie is mainly for our audience. And now, I just am like, if I was Margot Robbie's husband reading and hearing her say these things, I'd be like, what the fuck do you mean your legs were trembling and you were missing him when he wasn't watching you? And like, again, I understand committing to the bit and being a method actor, but like, saying these things in the press, am I the only one who thinks this is fucking crazy? Like, she's a married woman, and I mean, Jacob is single, so like, he can do whatever he wants, but like, what the fuck is going on? And now, she's not the only one. Jacob Elordi is not innocent either. He says that their dynamic was a mutual obsession, and he praises Margot Robbie as an elite actor. So clearly there's this like mutual obsession with each other. And again, they are actors. So I'm sure that they are hamming it up for the camera. They want the buzz. They want, you know, to have a crazy box office opening. And that's fine. I'm fine with that. But like, some of the things they're saying, like, am I being a prude? Like, am I clutching my pearls? That's something that's like doesn't need to be. And I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. The plot of this movie is a passionate, destructive love between the wild Catherine and the dark, brooding Heathcliff, set against the bleak Yorkshire moors and the exploring themes of obsession, revenge, class, and the supernatural. So clearly, they're buying into the method acting of the plot and trying to just like sell these roles. And there was a lot of controversy around the casting of this. I said the age gap was weird, and people were a little upset that Jacob Elordi was cast as Heathcliff because in the book he is described as somebody with a darker complexion. So that's a whole nother conversation to have and like not for me to chime into. I haven't read these books. I don't know anything about this, but I'm very excited to see the movie. There's also a lot of controversy about the music, saying like, how is Charli xcx going to soundtrack a book like Wuthering Heights that is so beloved and, it's not a party techno kind of vibe, but we're clearly getting this like darker pop kind of vibe from Charli from the few songs that we have heard from the album thus far. Lots of vibes in this movie. Lots of people kind of preying on its downfall. And you know what? That is kind of like what makes a good press tour, when people are not vibing with it and are like mad about it. Like it does kind of set it up for success, unfortunately, because as human beings, we are sick and twisted, and like we do find enjoyment out of being negative. And I'm not saying this press tour is like bad by all means, but it's just a little crazy. Like, especially like my legs were trembling and Jacob was not watching me and I felt uncomfortable. I was like, girl, you got a whole husband at home, and not like a new husband. Like they've been together for years. I'm like, if Thomas was in the press saying things like this about a scene partner, I'd be like, oh, so you're in love with him. Oh, so you hate me. You want to leave me and you want to be with him, right? That's what you're saying. Cause like, this is a lot. This is a lot to read. I was like, and like, not for nothing, it's Jacob Elordi. Like he's a very handsome young fellow. Don't get me wrong. I think about his Calvin Klein shoot more often than I would like to admit. Like he is a very good looking man. So like, especially if it was a Jacob Elordi level actor, I'd be like, oh, so you're in love. So you're leaving me, you hate me, and you're in love, and you're leaving me to go be with your scene partner. Got it. Cool. Fine. I'm packing my bags. I am out the door. Maybe that's my own thing. Maybe I'll unpack that in therapy this week. But like, I read this and I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you saying? I need the husband to chime in. It's giving like Sydney Sweeney, Glenn Powell and that whole vibe. And like, we all know how that ended up. So, anyway, just I'm watching the Wuthering Heights press tour with a very, very big magnifying glass. And I'm curious to see how this continues to roll out. The movie comes out February 13th. February 14th, February 13th, whatever that weekend is. It comes to Valentine's Day weekend. Very cute, very lovey-dovey, of course, very on theme with the movie. I am very excited for it, so I will be seeing that. And like I said, Charli xcx is doing the music for that, and she has a lot of movies under her belt this year, which leads us into our main topic of this week's episode. The Brat era is officially ending, which on one hand breaks my heart, and on the other, I'm like, you know what? I feel good about this. It feels like the right time to do it. So Charli xcx had her movie The Moment premiere at Sundance over the weekend, which is a mockumentary about the Brat tour and the Sweat tour. And like what I'm reading online is that it is what would have happened if Charli went commercial and the traditional pop star route with Brat, which we know that she didn't do. It wasn't commercially, the sound that people vibe with. It was a very specific album rollout with the Brat wall and the DJ sets and, the remixes. Like it was a very unique album rollout. So this movie is a mockumentary saying, what if Charli did the traditional pop star things, which I don't really know exactly what that means. I'm seeing the movie on Saturday night, so we'll chat about that next week. I'm so excited to see this movie and just like relive the Brat era that you guys know I loved oh so much. But the movie premiered at Sundance over the weekend. She was having the time of her life. She was meeting Meredith Marks, Lisa Barlow. We know she's the biggest fan of Salt Lake City Housewives. She literally tweeted after and said, holy shit, I met Meredith Marks. And then Meredith replies and goes, my only regret is that we weren't bumping that caviar. And like watching Charli queen out with Meredith Marks was so special and so important for pop culture, and just what a way to really like kick off the end of the Brat era, like with Meredith Marks. Like it makes so much sense and it feels so full circle. But like I said, this is marking the end or the beginning of the end of the Brat era, which I feel like we have talked about so much on this podcast about like, when is the Brat era ending? Because Charli had her whole thing about like, I don't want this to end and I wanted to keep going. I want Brat to be forever. And like Brat summer is forever. Let's be real. Like Brat summer is something that will never die. It is just like one of the biggest pop culture moments and movements I feel like that we've had in years, on such like an incredible marketing everything about Brat was just so well done. So it'll truly never die, but this is Charli kind of moving on from it. So at the premiere, she says, right now, unlike me in the moment, I am sort of really wanting Brat to stop and actually really pivot as far away from it as possible. And that's not because I don't love it. It's just because I think for all of us as artists, you have to challenge yourself. She said, this movie is about the end of an era, and this is the end of an era for Sundance right here in Park City. So it feels very special for us to be showing you the film here. We're really honored. So there's a few things here to unpack. Obviously, she's saying like, there's no way Charli xcx can hate Brat. Obviously, it was truly like the biggest moment in her career thus far and really just skyrocketed her into what is next for her career. Now we're seeing she's directing movies and writing scores for movies and starring in movies, and she's kind of going into this film era of Charli xcx, and like it's cool to see the way she's merging her two loves of film and music by releasing music for it with Wuthering Heights, with Mother Mary, and she's starring in so many movies. She had 3 movies that she was a part of at Sundance this weekend: The Moment, The Gallerist, and The Invite. So you know, it does make sense that like Brat is ending and coming to a close, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. And she says, you know, Sundance is ending in Park City. Sundance is relocating next year. So it's the last year that they're doing it here. So it is the end of an era for so many things. So it does really fit the vibe and the theme of what is happening just culturally. So it is very poetic when you think about it, honestly. Like it's a very poetic way to wrap all of this up in all of these kind of bittersweet endings. She then goes on to say, you want to totally switch the kind of creative soup that you're in and go and live in a different bowl for a while and just feel enriched by that. And I think that's how I feel about the projects I'm taking on in film. I really just want to work with these incredible directors who I feel like I can just live completely different lives with. And like I said, we're really seeing this new film buff side of Charli come out with her working with all of these directors. On The Moment, she's working with Aiden Zummery, who she's said so many times she's such a huge fan of and feels like the biggest honor. She said like on an interview at the carpet of the premiere that it was like, that was her biggest pinch me moment, like being able to work with Aiden and Aiden wanting to promote this and like do this movie with her was such a huge deal. And we're really seeing this other side of her come out, which is crazy because Brat was this, not other side of her, but we saw this really committed to the bit and like fully embracing her inner party girl with Brat. And now we're seeing another side of her. So, you know, we're seeing, Charli xcx has a lot in her. There's a lot more to her than, you know, Bumpin' That and Brat Green. And just, she really is, she's a jack of all trades, if you will. And like I said, this movie is directed by Aiden Zummery, and he says at the premiere, obviously this film is about the end of Brat's summer, but hopefully everyone can in some way find how it relates to them and the terror of letting something go, which I feel like even on Brat, we really do hear these, you know, even though the album is so party girl and Bumpin' That and 365 and, you know, it is upbeat and fun, we do have these really personal moments on the album of Charli singing about, I might say something stupid, and talking about like wanting to get pregnant but not knowing if it's the right time to become a mom and if she can become a mom. On Apple, she's singing about generational trauma and like all these things. And though this album is so upbeat and fun and, you know, whatever, like there are these personal messages layered within this album. And I think the terror of letting it go, she's talked about this on the album and like moving on to something next and what is the next era for me and what am I doing with my life? I'm excited to watch this movie and see how this all plays out and like kind of get an idea of like how Charli was feeling in an alternate universe, if that makes sense, because there is this weird, Charli's always going to be remembered for Brat and like whatever she goes on to do next with the films and her next album and things like that. Like you can only dream and hope it to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Like that is what I want for Charli, is what I wanted for Charli since I discovered her more than 10 years ago at this point. But it's really interesting seeing her like having this peace with letting go of Brat when for so long she's been teasing the end of Brat era and saying, I don't want it to end. I mean, like I said, she was saying like, what if I don't want to let this go? She had the whole interlude during her the Brat tour saying like, what if I don't want Brat summer to end? What if I don't want to let this go and like move on to the next thing? The Brat curtain, I mean, during the Sweat tour, it would fall every night. But then during the Brat tour, when she went on her solo tour later on with the album, it started like rotting and burning and she would destroy it. So it was clearly like this end of the era, but it was never ending. She like lit it up in flames. I think it was at Glastonbury. She had like, there's that sick photo of her and she's like sitting in front of it and it's on literally up in flames and it still isn't over. Like she can't let go of it. And it's clearly, it was a metaphor and the symbolic of like how she felt about knowing she needed to move on, especially in today's day and age with like artists releasing so quick and like so the turnover for albums is so fast usually, and she's like, I'm not ready for that. I don't want to move on to the next thing. I want to simmer in this and marinate in it, and like there's nothing wrong with that. There's no problem with that, but now seeing her being so content with moving on from it shows a lot of growth, and it shows a lot that like she is understanding like you can't live in this era forever, but like it is what it is. She said, I love it. I love what it was there for me for and do what it did for me, but like it's time for me to go and work with these incredible directors. And like she's doing the music for an Anne Hathaway A24 movie. Like she's doing huge things that I'm so excited for. And just thinking of like the Brat era as a whole, and like the way she shared so many notes of like her personal journal, like this era was truly planned out day by day, exactly how she wanted to do it. She knew she wanted to do the Brat wall. She knew, oh my God, speaking of the Brat wall, she brings it back for this movie, which is genius. She has a whole, the original Brat wall now says this is a movie promo, by the way. Like just so smart. Everything she did for the Brat era was truly genius and needs to be studied in a pop culture class down the line because it was seriously monumental. But just thinking about like she has a notebook full of like, it's going to be massive. It's going to be this. We're going to have this wall and do these DJ sets, and it's going to kick off at the Boiler Room. And she did that whole Boiler Room set was such a crazy way to just like kick off this era and like give us a tease into what's coming. She releases the album in June of 2024, and then she goes on 2 tours with it. The Brat Wall, Coachella, like I said, Glastonbury. Like she really took this album and went beyond the Grammys. Like who would have thought we would have seen Charli xcx performing guests on the Grammy stage ever? Like even just saying that is so crazy. The levels and the lengths in which Charli xcx took this album, I don't think anybody could have expected it, but it's exactly as Charli planned it. Like she knew exactly what she wanted to do with this album. And of course, there's so much lore when you think back to like her record label and the crash ever, her album before Brat. Like that was the death, quote unquote, of Charli xcx. I've said it so many times, but she announced that album with a tombstone with her name on it. And like on the cover, she had a car accident, and it's this like, it's supposed to be this like caricature of a pop star that she released with that album because it was the final album she was able to release under her record label, kind of tying into the idea of like what Kim Petras and BB Rexa and Halsey are going through. Like these record labels trap you in, like Kesha said, this golden cage, which yeah, it's golden, but it's not that great. And like you get trapped in these record deals that like sound so great and shiny and pretty at first, but they're really not. And like Charli had XCX World that leaked, and it was never able to come out, and like her label didn't trust her vision. And like as soon as Charli trusted her vision and was able to release the album that she wanted, i.e. Brat, that's when she had this major mainstream success, even though it wasn't what was trending in the mainstream. Like even though this wasn't boom clapper, I love it, and like this wasn't the typical pop music that is supposed to do well, but like Brat reached a level that I don't think anybody besides Charli expected it to reach. Like Charli knew what it was going to do, but like leading up to it, nobody thought it was going to reach the levels in which it did. And it's so crazy to think back on this era. And like I'm so happy that I have this podcast to look back on, that we can go listen to like when she released Von Dutch and like when she dropped the singles and like the lead up to it and the album cover. And like we have all of that on camera on this podcast, like documented, because it was seriously one for the books. And I'm very excited to see what's next, but it's sad. Like I feel so bonded to Brat, as so many of us do. And like so many of us love that album and that era. And it was really a huge like freeing time for a lot of us. It was just the Kamala of it all. Like there's so many cultural moments that tie back to this album that like I said, it is, joke about it if you want, but like this is an era and a release that really can be studied. And I feel like I could teach a course on Brat and just like the way that it was rolled out and the way that it impacted culture and music. And like we're seeing so many people go down this kind of like Charli xcx Brat vibe, Demi Lovato, Madison Beer. Like we're seeing so many artists dive into this more like club, electronic, dancey, not quite hyper pop, like not fully the way that like Charli and Sophie work together, but like that, diving into that like all kind of music culture. Like we're seeing so many mainstream artists now do that because Charli did it and it did so well. And like, not to say that they're copying her, because, music is music and everything's inspired. I mean, she has a whole interpolation of Sophie on this album. Everybody's inspired by everybody. It is like a trickle down effect. But it's really crazy to watch the way that like the Brat era really inspired so many artists with their rollouts, with the way that they approach making music. It's just very, very cool that we all lived through this together. And though I'm so excited to like see what's next. Like I said, it's sad that we're like letting go of an era that was so monumental to pop culture and pop music. And yeah, I'm excited to see what's next. I'm so excited to see the moment this weekend. I truly am like bursting at the seams. I'm seeing it Saturday night, so I will talk all about it with you guys. I'll definitely post on TikTok about it before the podcast, but it'll be like a bite-sized thing. You know how I do. I do like a bite-sized little moment on TikTok and Instagram, and then I give TikTok and Instagram, not to give you guys my content strategy, which I want to punch myself in the fucking face for saying that, but like I like to do like bite-sized pieces on TikTok and Instagram and give like digestible little thoughts, a 1.5 minutes tops, 2 minutes maybe of what I'm thinking about something. And then I bring it to the podcast and we talk longer about it. This is where I can really, really marinate and, get in there, really massage the scalp and, give you guys my full rundown. There's no TLDR here. It is the full fantasy of what I'm thinking. So thank you for listening to me yap and babble about it for so long. But yeah, the Brat era is ending. I never thought we would see the day. We have talked about this so many times here on this podcast, and it definitely hurts. I feel like I need to host a funeral for Brat. We need to bump it one more time and just continue to remember how fabulous it was living through the Brat era, because it was one for the fucking books. I will leave it at that. Moving into our second to last segment on the podcast, we are moving into our TV recap. You guys know the drill. Drag Race is on, and I am bursting at the seams to chat about this episode because it was fucking crazy. So it is another day in the workroom, and we are recapping RuPaul's Drag Race season 18, episode 4. Yeah, 4 sounds right. I should just write this down. Like in my outline, I just write Drag Race. Like I should just start writing the season and the episode, because I always struggle. But you know what? It's kind of fun to make me make sure like everything's on up here still, and I'm still thinking straight. Anyway, so I feel like every episode I get on here and I'm like, well, Athena is at it again, and Athena is doing this, and we see it here again. However, I am siding with Athena this week, which is crazy. So we see Athena and Briar kind of go back and forth and go at it, and Briar is trying to throw Juicy under the bus for not sticking up for Athena and whatever. And though Athena is acknowledging what Juicy said or did or didn't do, I think it was like Juicy didn't stand up for her or something like that, Athena's like, at the end of the day, that's my daughter, that's my family. Like, you're not going to get in between the two of us. Like, yeah, maybe we don't have each other's back all the time, but like, we are family. And like, especially in a drag family, that's so just the way that it kind of runs, like maybe you're not. And I had my thoughts about the way that Athena didn't help Juicy the first episode, and like, whatever, that's neither here nor there. But watching Briar really try to like snake in the grass into Athena and Juicy and like separate them was really grimy to me. I was like, you don't do that. You don't come in between family, whether it's drag family, blood family. Like, it just seemed very grimy. So I was shocked to be siding with Athena, especially after her actions the last few weeks. But watching Briar try to like get in there and like put a wedge between them, I was like, don't like this at all. And that was when I was like, we're going to see some shit happen with Briar. And boy, do we see some shit happen with Briar. This week's main challenge is a red carpet mashup. And I love this concept. You guys, obviously, we talk pop culture for an hour and a half every single week. You guys know I love pop culture, red carpet. There's so many iconic red carpet moments. This is so much fun. And I hope they do more challenges like this in future seasons, because I think this was so much fun. And there's so many other red carpet looks that I didn't even dive into that they could really just like really have fun with. I loved this challenge. So Ru tells everybody team up with your bestie. And of course, Briar clings to Juicy. And that's expected because Briar is Briaring on this episode. But it's fine. Like, I think Athena and Juicy know like they can't be buddy-buddy in this competition, because like then they are seen as an alliance, and like you don't want to be, seen as that always. So I think it makes sense that Athena and Juicy didn't team up for this week's challenge. But I hated the way Briar just like put her arm into Juicy's and was like smiling at Athena about it. I was like, girl, relax, like it's not that deep. And of course, though they team up with their bestie, Rue always has a twist, and they are now going against each other. So we're not seeing all the queens go head to head, all of them to each other. We're seeing the pairs go head to head, and then from there the girls are judged, which is another really fun concept. Even if they just take that concept in the future and do like tag teams go against each other, and then the best of the duo is the top, and then the worst is in the bottom. I like that too. It's a really fun. They're doing some really fun new tips and tricks on this season that I'm really, really into. And now before we even get into the runway, I just need to say Kenya's coming out story, saying that she like came after her mom, walked into church, and there was a choir singing "You Got a Friend in Me." Like, it does not get more movie magic picturesque than that. And like, as she's saying this, I'm like, Kenya would have this like picture perfect coming out story, just like her spirit and her everything about her. Like, this just makes sense. She deserves a choir singing for her everything she does, like every accomplishment Kenya Pleaser has. She deserves a choir to pop out and sing "You Got a Friend in Me." So hearing this, I was just like, girl, of course this is your perfect coming out story. And honestly, I love this for you. I was fucking dying. I was like, who comes out of the closet and walks into a choir singing "You Got a Friend in Me" of every song? It was, it's what she deserves. But I was like, this is very picturesque, movie-esque. And you got to give her credit where credit is due, because this is an incredible coming out story. Moving into the runway, the first besties that we have are Juicy and Briar. They are doing Lil Nas X and Rihanna. Juicy is up first, and I like this a lot. I mean, we know Juicy doesn't sew. This isn't her strong suit. She did get some help from Jane, but there's no harm in getting a little bit of help. I like this a lot. I think for somebody who doesn't sew, this was very well constructed. For somebody who doesn't sew, like this was a good look. I loved it. Briar, hated it. Hated everything about it. Nothing about it was good. Nothing about it. There was nothing redeemable about this look. I'm sorry. I wish the cape was bigger and grander and moved more. It was that like rubbery plastic, and like when she threw it just like fell. I was like, that was so ungraceful. It didn't speak to the looks. It didn't look like the two outfits combined. It just didn't do it for me. It wasn't good. Did not like it. Next up, we had Discord and Jane doing Cher and Sarah Paulson. Discord, it wasn't great. It wasn't good. It was just okay. I don't know. Something about it threw me off. It could have been better, I feel like, if she tweaked it a little bit, something about it just felt off to me, and it wasn't her walk. It was not the walk. It was the look. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It wasn't good. It was just okay. And I wanted more, especially considering her first design challenge, I loved so much with those like big feathers. And like, it was so simple that like, even seeing this, that was very simple. I was like, is she compared to Bob Mackie? I was like, I just don't think this is a Bob Mackie inspired look the way you think it is. But you know what? She walked her walk as she does every single week. And that's all we can ask for at this point. And then we had Jane Don't as her pair. I liked this look in the sense that it was a very unique look compared to everybody else. It wasn't the best thing she's worn, wasn't the worst runway we've seen this season, but like, she's done a lot of really cool runways so far. And like, this is better than some of the runways we've seen the other girls. Overall, like, the looks weren't the worst I've seen, but I was like, I expected more. I don't know if that makes sense. The next pair we had was Mikey Meeks and Nene Coco doing J-Lo and Nicki Minaj. Mikey, there was a lot going on, but I liked it. I didn't really understand where she pulled the blue in. Like, that threw me off a little bit, but it wasn't bad by all means. Like, it worked. The blue worked, but I was just like, where did that come from in the mix of it? It was a little jarring, but I liked the look, and I liked it better than Nene's, which is, I've been loving Nene this season, but I was very confused by this. It was literally a bodysuit with some green fabric wrapped around it. And like, she didn't look bad by all means, but like, for a runway on RuPaul's Drag Race, you're wrapping some green fabric around you in a bodysuit or a catsuit. Like, I wanted more. It wasn't, just considering, again, back to like what I'm saying with Discord, when you look at Nene's original design challenge, when she made that geometric dress out of fucking like gift bags, I wanted a little bit more from her, especially she had the J-Lo dress. Like you had the Jennifer Lopez Grammys Versace dress, and this is what you do. I wanted more. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but it's not just me. Next up, we had Ciara Mist and Kenya with Lady Gaga. And then their other pair was Justin and Brittany with the all denim look. And I have a lot to say about these looks, the judges' critiques, everything about this. So kicking it off with Ciara, I loved this look. It was very campy, very Lady Gaga. It pulled in the denim, it pulled in the gore. It was a little silly, a little kooky, a little fun. I loved it. Thought it was constructed really well. Great week for Ciara. I agree with her winning. That's fine. What I don't agree with is the way that the judges completely dragged Kenya for this look. Her look was great. I fucking loved it. I don't get what the judges were saying. Like they were like, this doesn't look like the meat dress. I don't get this. I don't get that. It doesn't scream the challenge. And I just disagree with that, especially considering it was like, take these red carpet looks and make it your own. That's what she did. And again, looking at Kenya's first design challenge and knowing she's not a seamstress nor she doesn't sew or anything, like this was a really sick outfit. I loved the red and the blue contrasting each other, and like it was a really good look. The only thing I would say is maybe like a blonde wig would have been better than the red, because it did kind of blend in with the dress. But like I don't think that was make or break when the challenge is to make the garment. The wig isn't the part of it, but like I think a blonde, like a platinum blonde Beyonce Grammys wig would have been sick on this look. I loved it. Honestly, I thought this look was incredible, and I'm really shocked the judges hated it as much as they did. Next up, we had Mia Starr and Vita doing Katy Perry and Lil' Kim. Mia Starr was a very literal representation of Lil' Kim look, which I thought she looked really good, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. You know, she didn't like rock the judges or like shake the table or anything. It was just kind of like, okay, you recreated the Lil' Kim look and added some little dingly dallies to make the chandelier for Katy Perry's Met Gala look, which is fine. But when your partner is Vita and she comes out in that fucking gown, are we kidding? She fucking tore the runway up with this gown. Everything about it was perfect. This is drag, and she is performing at a level that is so impressive and so incredible. And I told you guys she is one to watch. I am so into Vita. This looked expensive. The chandelier was fabulous. It looked like a little handbag. The dress was so well constructed. Like it was perfectly accessorized. It was perfectly color matte. Like everything about it was just perfection. And I cannot believe she made that dress in the same amount of time that everybody else made their looks. Like it was on another level. And spoiler alert, she wins the week, and she deserved it. She deserved to win 3 times over. This look was magnificent. And then the final pair of the week, we have Darlene and Athena doing Kim Kardashian and Zendaya. Darlene Mitchell, how I love you. This look was fabulous. I am loving her so much this season. Her personality, her drag, everything she does is just so true to her, and she doesn't stray away from who she is in her drag in anything, whether it is her entrance look and I didn't love her entrance look. If you remember, like I thought it was a good look, but I was like, I don't think I'm going to vibe with her, but boy, was I wrong. I am vibing with her. The entrance look was great. The bikini look she did was great. Like she's just fun. The cow look last week, like she does drag so fun. And I loved the way she did like the floral, like all skin tight suit with like those silver embellishments. I thought the silver that she added to the floral look was perfect. I love the hat. I love the accessories. I loved everything about this. It was fabulous. And then we have Athena, which was just like it was fine. I honestly did not like the hair on this. I hated the white hair against the silver. It didn't look good. I also didn't like the white inside the cape. It like distracted from the silver and the flowers. Like it just like it looked unfinished. And like it just, especially when it's Athena Dion, who is like the creme de la creme in Miami, it's just like I expected more. I don't know. This wasn't a great week for Athena on the runway. But now, these fucking critiques. You guys already know where I'm going with this. Law Roach does what Law Roach does and tells Breyer that she looks like a WWE wrestler. And in that moment, Breyer Blush passes out and faints. And now listen, I understand. I get it. You're under a lot of pressure. You have a lot going on. You're hearing all these critiques. Briar definitely had a rough week. But do we think her passing out was real? Like, do we think she actually passed out, or do we think she was hamming it up for the cameras? And like, Vita and Mia called it out. Mia was like, is this real? And Vita was like, no, it's an act. She's doing this to like buy some time and, you know, whatever. And I don't know what she thought. I don't know what she thought fainting was going to do. Like, I don't know if she thought, and again, maybe this was real. I don't know. I'm conspiracy theorying, you know, I'm just in the possibility of this wasn't real. What do we think she was thinking was going to happen? Were they not going to put her in the bottom? They weren't going to make her lip sync? Because at the end of the day, she had the ugliest fucking runway up on that stage. And like, it was a given that you were going to lip sync because your outfit was fucking ugly. And of course, like, if she passed out for real, I do feel bad, and that is scary. And I'm so happy that she's safe. I'm happy she's safe regardless. Like, whether she faked it or not, like, I'm happy she is okay and whatever. But do we think there were some tricks? Do we think there was some tomfoolery up on that stage? You guys let me know, because like, with a little convenient timing, I don't know. I don't want to, you know, I don't want to spread any tomfoolery or lies. You know, we're not Liza Minnelli here. We want to, you know, be credible, but something wasn't adding up with the passing out when she did. I just was like, did we do this for the act, or are we doing this for real? I don't know. Maybe we'll never know, but she passed out, and that's that. She comes back to the stage, and she is in the bottom. But the tops of the week are Jane, Vita, and Ciara, which I said Vita wins, which is so well-deserved. That look was fabulous. And the bottoms of the week are Briar, Discord, and Kenya. I do not think Kenya should have been in the bottom at all. I don't think her look was as bad as any of these looks on this runway. Like, her look was great. I do agree that Ciara's look was better in the pairing, but Kenya's look was not bad and did not deserve to be in the bottom three. Like, this, I could not disagree with more. Like, this is some tomfoolery. If you want to talk about tomfoolery, Kenya being in the bottom for this look, absolute tomfoolery. However, the bottom two are Briar and Kenya. Such bullshit. And they lip sync to Lights, Camera, Action by Kylie Minogue, and Kenya chewed. Kenya tore that stage up. The scarf coming off with the hair, the splits, the whole comedy bit she was doing. She was doing like the twerking on the stage. Like, she is born to perform. She is born to be on a stage. And she gave the judges a show. It was so fun to watch. And then we do see Briar go home, which, like I said, this was a rough week for Briar. And I do feel bad that, like, I feel like she's getting this, like, edit of her being a little mischievous, a little, you know, she's a little wiggly worm in some other people's drama. And that is true. But, you know, it was her time to go. I agree. I like Briar. I think she's a good drag queen, but I do think she was putting herself into other people's business a little too much. And even like the way we saw her with RDR Live last week, that was when she was like being like a little mosquito to Athena wanting to be in her group. It's clear that she was like trying to plant a seed to almost get in Athena's head. I mean, she literally played her inner saboteur on RDR Live. Like, it couldn't be more written in plain sight than that. Like, I don't know if she was intimidated by Athena. I don't know if she wanted to like have a best friend in Juicy and thought like Athena was a threat to her. Like, I don't know what it was, but like the way she was playing the game and the way that she was approaching the other girls, it just didn't seem like the right way to go about it. I don't know how else to say it. It was getting a little fishy, a little tomfoolery. It seems to be the word of the hour, tomfoolery. But Briar goes home, and we are ready for another week in the workroom. I am very, very excited to see what happens on this next episode, and like see what happens at the top of the episode when all the girls are reconvening and regrouping after the elimination. Very excited for Drag Race next week. I'm loving this season. Honestly, I think it's very, very good, and I can't wait to see who is America's next drag superstar. And moving into the next show that we're recapping right now, it is Traitors time. Now, before we even get into the show, Traitors put out a statement basically saying stop bullying Michael Rappaport and Colton. And I have a lot of thoughts. So they put out this statement and they say, we are committed to making our cast feel safe, respected, and supported on screen and off. The cast of the Traitors are real people, and what happened to the game should never lead to cyberbullying or harassment. There's a difference between discussing a show and targeting individuals. Let's not ruin the passion for the show with unwarranted negativity and personal attacks. We appreciate your support. Now, I agree. Cyberbullying is never okay. ever. It is obviously a very serious thing. I am not discrediting it. I am not saying go bully these people. No. But if you're going to cast Michael Rappaport and Colton, who have done crazy shit, Colton has stalked his ex-girlfriend. Michael Rappaport has said disgusting things online and has very clear political views that are very polarizing to a lot of people in the castle and just who is watching. You're going to get some backlash. And like for them to put out this statement, I feel like they're the only two that are really getting any backlash online right now. And like, not that cyberbullying is ever warranted, but like people aren't bullying them because of what they're doing on the show. It's because of who they are outside of the show and what they're bringing now to the show. It's a combination of both, which then is like, don't cast stalkers and don't cast people who are very outspoken about politics the way Michael Rappaport is. Like, it's not our fault you put them on our screens. Like, we are simply watching a show to react to it. And again, cyberbullying, no. But holding people accountable and like being able to be like, I want Michael out of the castle. I want Colton out of the castle. They are both not, I don't know. I just don't like their vibes in the castle. I think the statement was unwarranted. I think it's fine to say don't cyberbully. But what I'm going to say is, where was the statement for Danielle Reyes last season when she was getting torn apart for simply serving a little drama at the round table? Like she overreacted to some of the eliminations and the shaking and the crying and the jumping on the floor. And like that was a little over the top. I understand. But she did not deserve to get hate the way that she was, and they did not issue a statement to say stop cyberbullying Danielle when she was getting it. So why did Danielle, who is not doing problematic shit offline and out of the Traitors Castle, she doesn't get a statement to protect her, but you're going to protect Michael Rappaport and Colton, who have been stalkers and said crazy shit online? It just feels very weird to me, and it just sounds about white. But that being said, let's get into the episode, because this was a fucking juicy one. So we kick off the episode at breakfast and we see that nobody took a shield, which I said last week, if anybody took a shield, it was going to be Colton. I was genuinely shocked. Like I really thought he was going to be the one to take the shield and just like say, fuck everybody else. I want to protect myself, because he seems to be a little selfish. Not cyberbullying, just an observation. But nobody takes a shield. So we go on. Nobody is gone. Nobody is murdered. We are continuing with the same amount of people in the castle. Now, what I will say about the challenge, though the challenges are fucking crazy, Jam Jam needs to be careful with what he's saying and saying. He was like suggesting taking a shield to, I think it was paired with Mora in the challenge when he was like running into the graveyard to like do their thing. And he was like, should we take the shield? Like, should we do it? He has got to be a little more careful with who he's saying these things around, because if he is putting himself in the position to be the only one to want a shield, people are going to start getting suspicious and thinking he's not a team player. And like, that's not how the game is played. He is starting to play a little bit of a selfish game, and like, yeah, you want to protect yourself, but like if the entire castle is agreeing to not take a shield and you're the one who decides to take one, it's going to look a little suspicious. And I think he needs to play a little safer, because I don't want to see him go. I like him. I think he's fun. He adds a fun like character to the show, and he's smart. He's good at what he does. And I'm like, do not fuck this up for yourself by being selfish. This is not the name of the game. This is not how you do it. What I'm going to say, and I think we're going to get more of them now, and I think we're slowly transitioning into it now that we're slowly murdering people and getting people banished. I need more of Johnny and Tara. I think they are so fun and such a great dynamic, and I need more of them. We saw Johnny kind of ringleading, getting all the faithfuls together or who we thought were faithfuls, getting them together to carry the vote, and they'll have majority vote if they all stick together. So we're starting to see Johnny kind of step up and come into the spotlight a little bit more, which is what I need. I love Johnny Weir. I think he is fucking hilarious, and I'm just very ready for him to have more time on camera, especially with him and Tara. Like, the two of them are such a dynamic duo, and I know they're playing it where they're not friends, quote unquote, in the castle. They don't want to seem like an alliance, but I am dying for Johnny. I almost said Colton. I'm dying for Johnny and Tara content, and I think we're slowly getting their character arc, and I cannot wait for it. We also, before we get to the round table, we see Colton pull Lisa aside for this conversation as if you protect me at the round table, I protect you, you'll protect me in the turret, fully clocking Lisa as a traitor. But Lisa played it off very well, I think. I think Lisa is understanding she needs to clock out of traitor mode and clock into Lisa Rinna mode. And we'll get to the round table in a second, but I think she's starting to realize I need to not be as suspicious because Colton is on to her. Like, as annoying as I think Colton is, and like I want him out of the castle, like he is very much on to her, and like he's finally got one right, which I'll give him credit where credit to due because he's been very wrong for every other fucking person he's voted for. But he's on to Lisa, and I think Lisa needs to like really be careful the way that she steps, but I think she handled the conversation very well. I think the Traitors are still playing a very strong game, and I think as long as Lisa is smart about turning this story onto somebody else the way that Colton is coming on to her, I think they can really flip the switch and not get Lisa outed as a traitor. I hope. I really do hope. And then we get to the round table, which we see some traitor on traitor crime. And now, on one hand, I don't love this because I don't want to see the traitors going against each other. And maybe it is the overalls. Maybe I am, just blinded by how pretty he is. But on the other hand, I can understand why Rob did this. Like, the way that like it was Ron and Colton were the two other options, like if he voted for Ron, if he voted for Colton, like it immediately, like he was so vocal about the trust that he had in the two of them and like the alliances that he had. Granted, he's lying to their faces, but like that's neither here nor there. But like he's very vocal about those relationships. So if he voted for them, it would have put a target on her back immediately. So though it's not great that he voted for Lisa because one other vote and she would have been out, I understand why he did it. But like he needs to, similar to Lisa, he needs to watch what he's doing and be very smart about the way that he plays the rest of this game because like if he's doing Lisa wrong, and like I said at the round table, we're seeing Lisa Rinna come out. Like Lisa is unleashing Lisa Rinna that we know from Housewives now that they're really onto her and saying like you need to bring it. I am afraid for what Lisa Rinna is going to be doing on the Traitors now that she is unleashing the housewife mode. Like it's going to get real fucking crazy, real fucking quick at these round tables and in this castle. I don't think anybody's ready for the can of worms that they just opened with Lisa Rinna. Like it's about to get fucking wild and I can't wait for it. But I understand why Rob voted for her. But I also understand why it was fucking wrong and he should not have gone against the traitor. But what was he supposed to do? Like, it hurts watching a traitor go against a traitor, but like, it would have put the biggest target on his back if he voted for Ron or Colton. So he was put in a very sticky situation. And like, I'll give him a pass this week, but do not continue this traitor on traitor crime anymore on this season because I will not stand for it. And you are only so cute. You're only so pretty that you can only get away with it once. I'll forgive you this time, but don't let it happen again. And then we find out that Alan is throwing a banquet and the traitors have to do a murder in plain sight. And I think this is a very easy murder in plain sight. Like there is such an easy way for them to put this brooch on. If you don't know, they have to put on a brooch and have the first person who touches it is the one who was murdered that night. It is as simple, Lisa's wearing it, it's as simple as going up to somebody and saying, hey, can you help me with my brooch? Like it's stabbing me. Like I can't get it right. Can you help me fasten it or something like that? Like this is a very simple murder in plain sight. And I just think like the traitors are going to overthink it and overcomplicate it, which might put a target on Lisa's back or anybody's back who's trying to get them to touch her. Like I don't know if if Candace and Rob are going to be like, telling people to touch. I imagine they won't. Like, I really hope they're smart enough to like not overcomplicate this, but we will see. I'm very excited to see how this goes. I don't want to look at Colton in this fucking pearl outfit. He looks fucking terrible. And I honestly murder him in plain sight, get him out of the castle. I'm over him, capital O. I want him out of the castle. This is not cyberbullying. This is simply, I'm fucking done. I want him out of the castle. He is so annoying. He is just driving me up the wall. Get out. You're done. I'm over it. I need him out next episode. We will see what happens. But that is the Traitors thus far. Again, another great season. I'm loving the TV that we're recapping right now. It is very good. We are getting very good TV at the moment. And with all of that being said, we have made it to the final segment of this week's episode. We end every episode with a yes and a mess. A yes being something I am loving from the week and a mess being something I am not loving from the week. And we always start things on a high note here at Two Pop to Handle. So my yes this week is our cutie patootie mayor, Zoran Mamdani. he gets on his little soapbox, does his little statement about the snowstorm that we had in New York City over the weekend, and he shares that public libraries in New York City are offering free ebook access to Heated Rivalry for those with library cards during the snowstorm. Zoran knows what the people need. Zoran knows what the people want, and that is my mayor. And I am so proud to say that Zoran is my mayor, not just because he's going to freeze the rent and because he's making the buses free and he's giving universal childcare to people who need it, because he knows that we need to read Heated Rivalry, and he made sure those libraries had an ebook for every horny motherfucker who wanted to read these books during the snowstorm. And for that, I am so thankful. Moving into my mess for the week, like I said earlier, I teased us a little bit about Haley Duff. Ashley Tisdale and Haley Duff, step the fuck up, because what are we doing? You guys are digging yourself deeper in a hole than you need to be. If you did not see, and of course I posted my episode, it was one of my most listened to episodes as of recently, actually, the Real Housewives of Disney channel. I explained all of the things going on with the mom drama with Ashley Tisdale, Hilary Duff, Mandy Moore, Meghan Trainor, and that whole group. And now, yesterday, Ashley Tisdale and Haley Duff are posting together at the playground with their kids having a play date, which just to me puts the knife in Hilary's back even more. And now, let me preface, we know that Hilary and Haley are not on speaking terms. There's rumors that they have different political views. There's always been a jealousy aspect between the two of them, which honestly I could see very clearly. Just thinking about like Haley and Hilary's dynamic growing up. Like Hilary was obviously the star and Haley was kind of just like chasing the coattails. Hate to say it, but it's true. And then there's also a rumor that Haley and her husband were very close with Hilary's ex-husband, which is now causing a rift between Haley's husband and Hilary's husband, and then in return, the sisters are now fighting again. There's a lot of stories, a lot of hoopla, who knows what. But like I said, there's a song that is clearly, explicitly about Haley and Hilary's relationship on Hilary's new album. It is clear as day that it's about the two of them. Like it couldn't be clearer in these lyrics. So we know that there is this drama. We know there's this rift. They haven't been seen together since 2019. Like we already knew this. So to me, I'm like, oh, so Hilary starts the Small Room Big Nerves tour. This song comes out for the first time. She's performing it live. And what does Haley Duff do? She goes and tags to see Ashley Tisdale and hangs out with her and her kids. And now, don't get me wrong, Ashley and Haley have been friends for years, but it just seems very convenient and very timely, similar to Kanye putting, an ad in the Wall Street Journal when his album comes out. Seems very timely that Haley Duff and Ashley Tisdale would be having a mommy play date the same week that Hilary Duff debuts this song that is clearly about Haley and her relationship, the week or two after Ashley does this whole expose essay about what is meant, what is assumed to be about Hilary Duff, and it clearly is about Hilary Duff and that friend group. Just messy, messy boot, and I am not happy about it. But that being said, we have made it to the end of this week's episode. This was a fun episode. I feel like we covered a lot of really good topics. Maybe it's just me because I picked the topics and I think they're great, but this was a fun episode. Let me guys know what you think about it. If you guys liked what you heard and you're listening to us as a podcast, make sure you go ahead and leave me a 5-star rating. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a comment, drop a like, do everything but unsubscribe. You guys know the drill. If you would like some extra moments of the week that were just too pop to handle in between podcast episodes, head over to my Substack. I'll have it linked down below, or it is just toopoptohandle.substack.com, where you can subscribe to my weekly newsletter popping in, where I send you guys extra pop culture moments to your inbox every single weekend. And I'm starting to do some more fun pop culture writings there. I've had the writing bug, and I'm doing some fun new things that I'm working on. So subscribe now. There's a lot of fun stuff coming, and if you subscribe now, you get the archive of all of my old content as well. And if all of that isn't enough, you can always follow me on my socials, either at Andrew Nucatola across all platforms or at Too Pop to Handle, because there is never enough Too Pop to Handle to have in your life. And with that, I will catch you guys next week. Bye.